morning session. Thanks for all you coming, supporting. I really appreciate that. I'm going to talk about rethinking retail payments. And originally I just had 10 minutes, but I was awarded another 10. So I can speak a little bit more than just respecting the roles and responsibility of the payment ecosystem. Let's see if this one will work. Yes, so I have actually 3 points on the agenda now. I'm still going to do what I planned, which is a Pecha presentation. You will soon figure out what that is on this topic. I will now have time actually to give you a little bit of a flavor of the solution that we were awarded for yesterday as this Focus Innovation Award, the Crunchfish Digital Cash solution. And I will also comment on how it relates to how you can design, how you have the security, and I think most importantly as well, how you in practice can implement those solutions. Because there are a lot of offline solutions out there, but they tend not to be too implementable, and that's obviously a problem. So a Pecha is, when I start this presentation now, it's going to be 20 slides, and each slide is on for 20 seconds. So no questions I can take during these sort of 400 seconds that this goes on. And I'm essentially going to talk about how we can rethink payments, because we think we have actually come with a contrarian views on payments in a lot of respects. And one of the most important pieces of the puzzle that we actually came with last was to understand that we have to respect the roles and responsibility of the payment ecosystem. Nobody actually wants an offline payment system. If you look at the 2 roles in the market, there is either a network, they are not making payments, they receive payments and they process them. Then, on the other hand, you have the issuing side. They are equipping end users with secure wallets in order to pay. They are interested in that part. But none of them actually can handle or wants to handle the whole system. And that, I will talk about that. But let's go into this Pecha. First of all, I think payments should not be about the happy flow. And I think for far too long, a public good like payments only works when everything works. It's not good enough. This is a term that came from the internet days, when internet was introduced, survivability in the face of failure. We need that. And what they introduced with the internet was packet-based protocol, packet switching. It used to be all circuit switch. A circuit is this, that if you cut it anywhere, the communication is gone. Payments is the same thing. Cut payments anywhere, you can't make transactions. And that's not good enough. You need to go for another paradigm. Packet switched. Offline is not about just network connectivity. What it's really all about is service availability. Certainly, if a user do not have connectivity, then, yeah, they may not be able to pay. But a more serious outage is if the backend, some of the service in the backend goes down, then nobody's going to pay. So what I'm going to talk about in this first section here is these ecosystem roles. I'll start with that. Then I'm going to talk about what I believe should be the setup here. Digital IOUs, just like the card networks do it. And then I'm going to talk about how we are revolutionizing payments by actually fundamentally changing some pillars of payments. So it's not going to be about offline payments, but it's to understand what I said earlier, that there are 2 roles. There are network providers and there are service providers. They play different role in the payment ecosystem, and they don't really want the whole system. There's a lot of talk about that you need wallets. Wallets, you're going to pay to another wallet, wallets and wallets. But what you really have to do if you build a payment system, you need to get the acquiring side first. You have to get that. You need to get universal acceptance. And for that, you need terminals. So you need to talk terminals, not just wallet to wallet. So this is not the equation, which I think, unfortunately, a lot of my competitors are just trying to solve. How do we do secure wallet transaction to another secure wallet? No, what you really should start with is to think about how can I get transactions from a secure wallet to terminals? Because these terminals you can distribute much more easily in the whole ecosystem. This is another one. European or American-based companies, they think it's all going to be NFC. But in many emerging markets, most smartphones don't even have NFC. And even if they do have it, you can't even find a spot where to actually do interaction. So to build it all on NFC is a huge mistake. You have to be much more flexible with other type of interaction as well. This may come as a surprise, but in offline mode, it's not about digital banknotes. Forget it. That will never ever have interoperability. It will not be a wise solution. Do like the card rates. Think about digital IOUs instead. That's how we should build it. That means that the paradigm for online is fine to do fund, pay, and do defund with wallets. For offline, it's not. The paradigm should be this. You reserve money on-chain, then you can pay offline, and then you do settlement. That is the paradigm that's going to rule, really. So this, you've heard that. We want, you heard that from Jamaica yesterday, we want offline finality. Forget it, don't do that. That is a mistake to try to do that. You should be happy that there is also an online settlement, which is deferred if everybody's online. If any of the two parties are online, it will be immediate settlement as well. But think about that. This is something that I'm also, our solution should work on hardware, but we choose not to at the moment because it simply don't scale. There's no ecosystem in the world that supports a scalable solution. So what you have to think about is a scalable solution. Scalable software is what it's about, not secure hardware. So it's not about this. What you need is not secure elements. What you need in its core is an isolated runtime environment. That is a must. But you can actually provide that in a secure element, yes, but also in a virtual secure element. And a virtual secure element is in software. So it's not all about this. It's not about trying to, you have to have absolutely maximum security offline because otherwise people will defraud you. No, because you're going to have that settlement. So what you want to have, and all the central bankers I think agree, you need to be able to spot any fraud, and you do that from the back end. That's what you need. We can certainly do completely anonymous payments, but what we actually believe more in is to think about privacy. Just like people accept that your bank knows what's going on, that could be done for CBDCs as well. So privacy should be there, not just for offline payments, but equally well for online payments as well. So the whole world going forward here is not about just the traditional happy flow online payment system, but actually thinking about a new paradigm where you do package switch, next generation type of offline payments. That is actually what's going to be happening here. To do that, yes, there is TCP/IP, which is this package switch protocol from the internet, but you need to add another layer of package switch protocols, and that is on the application layer. Internet solve the communication, but not the application layer, and that's what you get through this trusted application protocol. So it's not about e-wallets. E-wallets is everywhere, so I've read something, how many billion wallets will there be? No, but each of these e-wallets is only for one, it's sort of on MasterCard on Visa. They're not interoperable. I believe you need interoperable wallets. That is what will come in the future. This is what's going to save Europe, because Europe has gone for a really weird design, I think, for offline payments, but they have decided on conditional payments, smart contracts. They have that in their design. And luckily, that is exactly how offline payments should be set up. You reserve money, you go off-chain, and then you settle when you get that conditional payment back again. So this is what we're challenging. It's not about any of those standalone card networks. That's not going to be the future, but rather interoperable, cross-network type of payment systems. That's what you can deliver in retail, in sort of front end. That's what we do. So that was the Pecha Kucha, and I ended this presentation in Bangkok in this way as well, that there are these two roles, that if you are a network provider, and you are if you're a central bank, you provide a network for for CBDC, but also for commercial, like in Sweden we have Swish, in India they have UPI, these are commercial payment networks really. And we could help them to make their network resilient. And the good news for everybody, we do it for free. We offer this for free. And we are at the verge of breakthrough now in India, which is sort of the largest real-time payment market in the world when it comes to real-time payments. India wants this, and I happily talk to some people here at the Bahamas. You have a fantastic sand dollar system, but it's not offline. You need it to be offline. we're very happy to help you, and we can help others as well. And then on the other side, there is the payment service providers. This is where we need to monetize somewhere, and we can monetize here by actually charging a small fee, subscription fee, per wallet, and it's as low as 10 US cents per annum. That's it. There's no transaction fees, there is no terminal fees, it's only then a subscription fee. That is our baseline, and then we can even think of other ways of monetizing as well, but it's a good structure. Get the network, get this resilient system in there, and then we go from there by enabling one by one. We don't have to do everybody at once. Some banks want to go early, some can wait longer, and some sort of application services could come and other later. That's fine. So let's go into the next section then. Just a quick overview of our solution. Typically, on my one side here, what a person is typically faced with is three options. They can pay with cash, they can pay with cards, or they can use any of the online payment system. That's how it is. What our system essentially is a layer on top. So any type of payment rail, any type of payment network, you can anything, stablecoin, crypto, real-time payment system, CB+DC, you name it. We can put our components on top there. And the components are these. We have a wallet, a secure wallet. This is where you absolutely need to have an isolated runtime environment. That's what we have for the payer. On the payee side, yes, there could be a wallet as well, and then you can pay forward, but it can just be a terminal as well. And that's what we are discussing in India to enable anyone who can pay online should be able to receive offline. And we do that by putting this into the common library of the whole network that all wallets have. And then the gateway is a name we use for, this is the interface between our layer 2 system and the underlying network. And we are helping retail payments in all forms. Online payments, what we do, because we have that trusted client, you have better way of identification, better digital identification, which is natively built into the app itself. So better digital identification. We get resilience. If anything is down in the back end, you could still make the payment and it can just be parked at the gateway. And that is useful also for load balancing. Offline payments look sort of like this, that you pay between a payer and a payee, which could have a terminal or a wallet, and then either party, whenever they go online, they could settle or initiate a settlement of this IOU, which is stored on each side. And then this is an interesting use case, I think for CB+DC, that if someone walks into a store, pays with cash, they typically get cash back. But an interesting way to digitize is actually then to let the payer get cash back digitally. So you pay with central bank money, but you're getting it in your bank account digitally, maybe as a CB+DC back. We solve that by simply giving this secure wallet to the merchant instead. So the way the whole system is set up is sort of that when you're online, you reserve some money, a spending limit to your wallet. You pay offline in our layer 2 system, and then any of the two parties could send this guaranteed digital IOU up to step 3, the settlement layer, which happens on the underlying payment network. Yeah, so this is how we would set up a payment network provider with a terminal that goes into the common library of everybody, and they would just have a gateway up in the switch. And then the payment service providers, they are on the other side, we would set them up with secure wallets, and they would also have a gateway on their back-end side, and then we go from there. We certainly can do consecutive offline payments. I saw a note from Bank of England saying that if you do this sort of settlement, you couldn't pay offline. Of course you can. So if you pay from a wallet to another wallet, you can credit that balance and pay forward, just like I showed here. But more interestingly as well, we can also do the same thing between networks. We've been talking here, how can we actually do interoperability between networks? This could be cross-border, cross-network, cross-service, cross-anything. It's the same technical infrastructure. Granted, there are regulatory ideas or things that we have to be solved as well. But technically, it's not harder to do this cross-border in the front end than it is to do sort of within just one payment service. So let's do the last piece here. bit here where I'm going to comment on this. We actually did, you can't read this, but it's all on our website. It's under Crunchfish.com, Deep FinTech. Here I do a comparison between, in the gray column here, that is our system here, and commenting if we deliver this feature or not. And on the very left side is a real-time payment system, typically a real-time payment system like UPI in India. Then I have 2 EMV, one mobile card payments, and then with smartphones. And then to the right are typically online CB+DC systems, what they do. I believe, granted I'm partial here, but if you look at design, security and implementation, we score better than any of those underlying payment networks. We bring a lot of those features to the underlying payment networks. Interestingly, if you look at the second one here, the blue line, CB+DC systems tends to be good on design. They have offline and they come with good features. They're good on security, but they are lousy. They are worst in the class when it comes to implementation. That is the reason I believe we haven't seen too many good sort of offline implementations around the world, because implementation-wise, they're impossible to scale. The way we do it here is not about the digital banknotes, digital IOUs, as I say. I'm talking about this reserve pay and settlement. It's not new to the world. The Swedish Riksbank, in their last phase 4, they had tried to do digital banknote offline in the phase 2, but they decided to go against that. And in their final pilot, they did. Let's leave the tokens online and just have a shadow wallet, and then you transfer things and you settle. In June, Bank of Canada came with a feasibility study that looked at the way they recommend the world to go is for what they call an open CB+DC 2PC. 2PC stands for two-phase commit. Exactly what we say. You transact between wallets first, and then you protect the core ledger by doing then a settlement on the core ledger when you have vetted that transaction. That is I think, a really wise approach, and that's been now recommended by Bank of Canada. And then India, as we are very close to, we've seen their design for their now value-based system. It's going to be on digital IOUs. India is going that way. It's not going to be digital banknotes anymore when it comes to offline, because it's simply not a wise solution to do. So we're very happy to be part of this interview for this International Monetary Fund. They had this notes that came out in August. John Kiffey, who presented the first day, was one of the authors here. And in this report, if you read about it here, read about the challenges to scale and upgrade across multiple phone models. It's there for hardware, because there is no ecosystem in the world that scales. You can do Mickey Mouse trials with one manufacturer, but what's the point? Because you have a country who have many models. You need something more scalable. And what you're really looking for is a solution that can go to any of the people's smartphones. And that is the virtual secure element solution. But I urge you to read this. But after the interview of this, then John Kiff and his colleague in Soda, Chris Ostrovsky, they felt we need to talk about more than what's in the IMF report. And they did this 2-pager together with me, and this was even an interview here, because there are more to tell than just wallet to wallet and just thinking hardware. So I urge you to look at this. This is all about, it's not secure hardware, but scalable software. It's not wallet to wallet, but think wallet to terminal as well. And again, you can't just base it on NFC. NFC is fine as a nice to have, but you don't have that as your baseline, because you will miss out a lot of the population. So we're here. We have a little bit of a booth. Very happy to talk to any one of you. I think the system we have now come up with, where we have understood that the payment networks, they are not really willing to pay for secure wallets. So don't try that. Give them basically your technology so they have that resilient network. Because if that is in place, you have universal, in a way, starting to build universal acceptance for your payments. And then you can go to the issuing side, to the banks and to the application providers, and let them have the secure wallets and let them integrate that. Because if you set it up that way, you get I think it's a very scalable system. And what we're telling India, we're not locking anyone in. We are giving them our source code to basically the acquiring side. We can help them with the standards, we can even help them modify it, so have their own standards. And then all the issuing secure wallets needs to follow. That's what we can deliver. I think I'm exactly on time. Thank you very much.